We welcome you to the Lenten Meditation series of the Church of South India Synod on the theme, Journey to Transformation from Ashes to Resurrection. The overall theme emphasizes the process of transformation from being confronted with our own mortality and hence ashes to being people of the resurrection. The theme for this meditation is Cross and a New Paradigm to Discipleship. Cross and a New Paradigm to Discipleship. This is also Passion Sunday. Passion Sunday, just a week before Palm Sunday, marks the beginning of the preparation for Palm Sunday and the Holy Week, inviting Christians to reflect deeply on the events leading up to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. This day serves as a stark reminder of the suffering, sacrifice, and profound love displayed through Christ's passion. In reflecting on Passion Sunday, we encounter several key themes relevant to our faith. First, it emphasizes the reality of suffering. Jesus, fully divine yet fully human, experiences betrayal, abandonment, and physical agony. Secondly, Passion Sunday calls us to consider the very nature of the cross. Jesus' willingness to confront the power and symbol of empire. The cross is the ultimate paradigm of sacrificial discipleship. Finally, this day is a time of introspection, prompting us to confront our own shortcomings and the ways we may have been the cause of the suffering of others. The three readings for today emphasizes the need for self-reflection. First, the Old Testament lesson is from the book of Genesis, chapter 26, beginning from verse 12 through 33. Genesis 26:12 to 33 narrates the experiences of Isaac in Gerar during a time of famine, highlighting themes of perseverance, conflict, and God's faithfulness. Through the lens of the cross and discipleship, this passage reveals profound insights into what it means to follow God amidst the challenges and opposition that we face daily. At the outset, if we look at these verses, the heart of this narrative is this, of Isaac's decision to sow in a time of famine. This act requires not only faith, but also a willingness to embrace risk, echoing the call to discipleship. Following God often means stepping out into uncertain circumstances, trusting in God's provision even when the situation appears dire. Isaac's actions exemplify the courage required in discipleship, choosing faith over fear and obedience over comfort. This resonates with the cross as a symbol of sacrifice and commitment to God's plan. Isaac's prosperity later sparks conflict with the Philistines, who react with envy by stopping up the wells that Abraham had dug. This conflict illustrates a critical aspect of discipleship, the reality of opposition and misunderstanding when one chooses to follow God. Discipleship involves navigating these conflicts with integrity and humility, often at a personal cost. The act of digging new wells symbolizes Isaac's determination to find sustenance despite adversity. Isaac does not retaliate. Instead, he moves on to dig new ones. This perseverance amidst challenges reflects the essence of taking up one's cross. Discipleship requires resilience, the ability to adapt and continue seeking God's provision even when faced with setbacks. The wells also signify spiritual nourishment, digging deeper in faith and community, even when circumstances threaten to dry up resources. Isaac's eventual reconciliation with Abimelech, the Philistine king, emphasizes the importance of peace and restoration in discipleship. The naming of the wells, particularly Rehoboth, meaning room, serves as a reminder of God's provision and the expansiveness of God's grace. In discipleship, we are reminded that God creates room for growth and flourishing even amidst adversity. The epistle reading comes from Paul's second letter to the Corinthians, the 11th chapter, beginning from verse 21 through verse 31. In this, the Apostle Paul presents a striking contrast between the superficial boasts of false apostles and the authentic witness of his own suffering and service. This passage deeply engages with the themes of the cross and discipleship, revealing how the two are intricately linked in the life of a fellow follower of Christ. And therefore, what Paul does is this. He recounts his own suffering, being beaten, imprisoned, shipwrecked, and facing constant danger. This serves as a vivid and a stark reminder of the cost of discipleship. In a culture that often elevates success, comfort, and personal achievement, Paul's list starkly contrasts the superficial markers of ministry. He embraces suffering as an essential aspect of his calling. The cross symbolizes sacrifice, suffering, and a radical reorientation of values. The theme of weakness as strength emerges powerfully in this passage. Paul states, "If I must boast, I will boast of the things that show my weakness." 2 Corinthians 11:30. In discipleship, acknowledging one's weaknesses and limitations are certainly crucial. It is through these vulnerabilities that God's strength is made perfect. Discipleship is not always about self-sufficiency, but about learning to rely on God in every circumstance. Paul's unwavering commitment to his calling amidst suffering highlights the importance of perseverance in discipleship. Discipleship requires a steadfastness that mirrors Christ's own journey to the cross. Paul's reflection invites believers to endure their own personal journeys, recognizing that faithfulness to God often comes with challenges that redefine and strengthen our own witness. Finally, the Gospel reading comes from the Gospel according to St. Mark in the 10th chapter, beginning from verse 46 to 52. Here, the Gospel lesson presents the compelling story of Bartimaeus, who in his desperation encounters Jesus as he leaves Jericho. The text informs the occupation by which Bartimaeus earned his living. He is a beggar, verse 46. We frequently read that the kingdom belongs to the poor, tokoi in the Greek. We find that in Luke chapter 6:20, Matthew 5:3, James 2:5. Tokoi, or the poor. A deeper look at the meanings of the words for poverty, which is penian, and beggary, tokoi, reveals subtle distinctions that are often overlooked in the common translation of the poor. The term tokoi implies a state of absolute poverty and can be literally interpreted as the one who crouches, thus referring to the one who begs. Therefore, Bartimaeus, the poor beggar, is about to encounter the reign of God in the person, Jesus, the Christ of the tokoi, Jesus, the Christ of the beggars. Bartimaeus, throwing off his cloak, often reminds us of the coming to Jesus as being extremely significant. We look at the Old Testament in Exodus 22:25-26 and Deuteronomy 24:12-13. These highlight that a poor person's most vital possession, especially for the one who begs, is their cloak, as it serves as their only form of shelter. If this cloak is taken in pledge, it must be returned before evening. In Mark chapter 10:50a, the focus is not merely on a passing detail, but a crucial aspect of the healing narrative, the act of casting out unjust historical practices in response to a calling. This reflects the essence of discipleship. Encountering Christ leads to a life of active commitment to justice and participation in God's mission. Bartimaeus' response challenges believers to consider how their encounters with Christ compel them to live out their faith in a passion for justice and questioning historical wrongs. Therefore, as we enter Palm Sunday through Passion Sunday invites us to engage deeply with the themes of suffering, discipleship, and introspection. When Jesus responds to Bartimaeus asking, "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus invites Bartimaeus to articulate his desire for healing. This moment underscores the personal nature of discipleship. Bartimaeus' response, "Rabbi, I want to see," reveals his desire not just for physical sight, but for a deeper understanding of who Jesus is. In this, we see that true discipleship involves a yearning for spiritual insight, a willingness to embrace the cross, and the transformative power that comes from knowing Christ. And therefore, children, sisters, and brothers, in embracing the cross as a new paradigm of discipleship, we are called to live out the transformative power of Christ's love in our lives and communities. Amen.